The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com.
Are you a busy professional looking to diversify your portfolio? Ever wanted to passively invest in real estate but don't know where to start? John Fortes provides you with a guide to passively invest in real estate. This is the Passive Investor Show.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to passive investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time. Today, I want to go over some benefits, future benefits that is coming down the line as far as numbers and population and people growth and all of that. So that'll be part of the Investor 101 series and why we invest. We do our homework, we do our due diligence, and we understand the investment model. So this is a little bit of a background on those type of practices. So what I like to do is I like to research people, the strategy of the counting of people, not the strategy. But what it is it's demographers. And I'm reading an awesome book called Upside. And the book is by Kenneth W. Gronbach. And the book really is, what Kenneth does is he's a demographer and he counts people for a living. And what he does is he can tell if, for instance, he uses this example in the book of Harley Davidson sales started plummeting. What he really was explaining in this, and he uses a great example with Harley Davidson, with certain generations, they absolutely adore and idolize certain things and they buy certain things, but the next generation's always something fresh, new, or they're not buying something that their parents did. It's very detailed the way he explains it in the book, but I would recommend reading it. And we'll talk about a few things. For instance, he talks about the baby boomers, and some of the industry experts call them silver tsunamis because of how many of them they are and how many they're retiring at the same time and all of that. So what it is they're about 56 to 75 years old from today, 2020, right? So they were born in 1945 to 1964. And it's all different per demographer. It's usually a 20-year span as far as generations. And they calculated 78.2 million people were born in that time frame. And this study we'll put it at 2015. I believe he says 2015 is when he was researching all this and when the book actually came out. And then he explains the Generation X, which is the one I'm part of. They're anywhere from 36 to 55. They were born in 1965 to 1984. And again, these generational numbers are different from most people and demographers and census bureaus and all of that. So these years might be different from what you might have saw. So they estimated 69.5 million people were born in that timeline. And then we move to Generation Y, which is the millennials. It's 1985 to 2004, which is the ages from right now 16 to 35 years old, right? And they estimated 79.5 million people were born in that timeline. And then we have the Generation Z, the 2005 to 2024, which is yet to be completed yet. That cycle hasn't ended, but they are anywhere from 1 to 15 years old. And they're saying right now, as of 2015, 40.9 million people. So let's run through this, right? So we have the baby boomers, the Generation X, the millennials, and then the Generation Zs. So it is estimated that about in 2035, my buddy Mark has this, shout out to Mark, has this information that he passed and shared with me, that in 2035, 31% of the rental market shares will be 60 plus. That is amazing to hear as far as a real estate multifamily investor, right? But that tells me they're downsizing, they're living easier, they want something smaller. And you know what? I kind of feel like that's what I would do at that age. I would downsize and vacation as often as possible and live comfortably and go and see my kids whenever, right? I don't need a big house for some reason. That's how I'm thinking, but who knows when I am that age. But if that's the way they are literally taking all their equity and going to live a joyous, prosperous rest of their lives. And I get that. That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing if you really think about it. But let's shift real quick to my generation, Generation X and Generation Ys. And the Generation Ys had this push for college and degrees. And so it happened at the end of my generation. And the reason why is because I noticed that there was a real push for colleges when I was graduating. And then it really took off with the millennials. And then the student loan debt started rising. So that's the reason why millennials are renting rather than enjoying a home in the suburbs because they want to be close to the city. Because one of the things they saw what their parents went through with the recession, and a lot of people either downsized, lost their homes, or unfortunate events happened. And it's really, really sad. But kids in that time frame, when they starting to become adults, they're opting for more life experience. They're even in the book Upside, they're even saying that they are getting married later than what the previous generation did. So they're enjoying more. They're doing more things. They're actually doing what you're supposed to do when you're young, right? Just kind of like be free, go and explore the world, discover what you're meant to do. And then you have the rest of your years to go and practice whatever you want to do. So I feel them on that, right? So, but it's opportunity for investors because it is a renter's market out there. It's a renters. We're turning into a renter's nation if we're not already there already. But this is where my kids fall in line, right? Generation Z. This is my children right now. And is college going to be a thing? If college raises their rates, I don't know. It's more than inflation. When I was in school, my tuition was jumping higher than inflation. Here's where I'm getting with that. If the millennials are going for life experience, and what's going on with the world with Corona, and schools are going to more remote, so you're not getting that college experience. Hey, real estate investors. Did you know that you can invest in real estate with your 401k or IRA? Through NewView Trust Company, you don't have to worry about the volatile stock market to make smart money moves. NewView has a free self-directed IRA guide you can get right now. That's right, PI listeners. I said right now. Go to newviewtrust.com to get your hands on it and learn more. Since their founding, NewView Trust has strived to provide clients with the broadest possible choices in their IRAs. So head to newviewtrust.com to download their free guide that could help you invest your retirement account in real estate and much more. That's NUVIEW trust.com. newviewtrust.com. The more you know, the more we grow. Happy investing. What is the next move for them? I think personally that gap year is going to become a thing. And it might be a gap 2 years, gap 3 years, where they want to go and explore the world and discover who they are and discover what they want to do and pursue and achieve. Because at the same time, when you're going to college right out of high school, there are some people that are like, I know I want to be a doctor. Boom, go and do the years it takes to become a doctor. Awesome. But there's still a lot of kids, myself included, when I was that age, I didn't know what I wanted. I remember when I was doing right out of high school, I went to a community college, and guess what? Liberal arts major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I got older, that's when I knew I wanted to do computers. I wanted to do IT. Boom. I fell in love with it. I loved it. I ran with it, went and got my degree, and that was it. I got it later. I didn't do it immediately out of school, and it's okay. There's no playbook. But I think the gap year model is going to be a thing. That is one of the reasons why I practice with my children, invest in, buy something that's going to pay you. And I keep it real simple like that, and I explain it like that. And I tell them, if you buy something that's going to pay you, you can use that income to go either buy more things that are going to pay you, or now you can take that money to go buy whatever the things you need or you want. Don't take your savings and go buy something that you want and don't have anything left. Have something that you can build on. And that's kind of how I teach my kids. So now when we're driving around, I believe I mentioned this before, my son's like, that's a building that people would live in and pay me if I owned. Right, Dad? Right. He gets it. He's understanding. It's just all of these things. And now that he's into basketball and he's seeing commercials of LeBron James and James Harden and all of them, when he sees them, he tells me, Dad, they're getting paid for that, right? I'm like, yeah, they're using their platform, their abilities, and their marketability to reach other people to promote whatever product they're doing. So essentially, they're their own business in that model. So I'm getting him to understand those pieces and stuff like that. But it's kind of cool to be able to teach him that way and groom him. But let's get back to this. The study of people, what I really want to finish on is I'm going to take the study that they did from 1990 to 2015. We talked about the generational population, right? The baby boomers, the Generation X, Generation Y, millennials, and Generation Z. Now get this. From 1990 to 2015, there was a 10.7 population's percentage change in the Northeast. In the South, a population change of 41.8. The Midwest, 13.8. And in the West, 44% even. People are moving. People are improving their conditions. They want to live in their desired locations that they wanted to, and they're renting. They're renting while doing this. They're not buying new homes. They're enjoying returning to a renter's nation. And the reason that I started this episode the way I did, it's Investor 101. I've been getting prompted with questions with, John, I heard you wanted to hire a demographer. Why would you hire a demographer? Because I want to understand the movement of people. If there's a company out there that's counting people and determining where they're moving and leaving and moving into, I want that information to improve my investor positions, my ideal markets, improved markets, what population is leaving those markets. And they really refine it. They even break down races, immigration, and all of that, and factor all of these baked into these numbers and calculations. So they will break it down by race as well as by age. And that's the reason why it's going to help me become a better investor. It's going to help me be in better positions to make better decisions on my investments going forward. So those are some of the benefits of being able to understand people through demographers. I just want to give some perspective on why we want to track people instead of just understanding that this market has X amount of population. I want to know that, but I also want to know if that population is consistently staying there or people are constantly moving there. You have to understand why people are doing things or if they are doing things, as opposed to just buying the real estate in that area. I really hope this episode really sinks in with you and helps you understand a little bit more about markets as far as people. We're not diving into specific markets, but we're understanding where people are moving or why people are moving to them or migrating, and by generational population as well. So tracking people through demographers is really one way to understand what market you really want to define and invest in as far as your investment criteria. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet. Happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.